What's up, Cards Chat? Welcome back to another video. It's the new year, and if you're anything like me, you are hoping to get much better at this game of poker by the end of the year. But with all of the resources out there, all of the complexity of this game that we play, sometimes it's hard to know where to start. So in this video, or maybe series of videos, I'm going to lay out a clear path forward for you, and hopefully by the end of it, you will know exactly what your plan is going forward with how to study and what to study. So no matter what level you are at in your poker game, everyone's path forward is the same. You'd have 3 clear steps that will make you a better poker player. The first one is to identify your leaks. Hard to study if you don't know what your mistakes and your leaks are. So a lot of people skip this step and they dive right into random videos and resources to study random spots, but your time is going to be more efficiently used if you identify what mistakes you're making first and foremost, so that you have a clear problem to solve. The second one is to organize those leaks. A lot of us have a ton of spots that we could potentially study and improve on. I'm going to teach you how to organize your leaks so that your time is used more efficiently and you're not studying the things that don't happen very often or that don't make you a lot of money. And then the third thing we're going to do is go over how to study those spots. What are the best resources for which types of mistakes that you're making? Okay, so while it may seem simple, step 1 is identify your leaks. And a lot of people, like I said, skip this part because they just want to start studying. The problem with diving into random resources is that sometimes you'll study things that are a little more advanced than you currently are in your game, or you start to aimlessly study things and it's fun at first, but then you feel a little bit overwhelmed because you don't have a clear checklist of things that you're crossing off. So you don't know whether or not you're actually getting better at certain concepts or not because you have too unorganized of a plan. So identifying the mistakes that you are personally making will help you get better quickly, and it will also keep you motivated to study because you're seeing the direct results in your game because you've studied something that is specific to you. So how do we do that? How do we identify our mistakes? The most efficient way to do this step is to hire a coach. And if you're not already playing online, I would highly recommend that you put a little bit of money online and start playing a few small sessions and recording them. You can use recording software, very easy to find. I use OBS, but you can use a less intense piece of software to just record your screen, record your play, and then hire a coach to go over all of those spots for you. The reason that you want to record your entire session is because a lot of people will send what they consider to be their weak spots to a coach, but they're missing all these other little mistakes that a coach can help you find. So if they can see the entire session, you're more likely to find mistakes that you didn't even know you were making. Hiring a coach in and of itself can feel overwhelming. So if you want to message myself, Matt Vaughn, there's a few other pros here at CardsChat. If you're not already a member, free to join. We all have AMA threads going, so you can just post in there. So if you want to list the stake you're playing, what you're trying to get out of poker, whether you just want to improve a slight bit or you want to become a full-time pro, I'm sure that I know a few coaches that I can send your way. So if you want to ask us in those threads, I will be happy to help you out. Other than that, if hiring a coach is not your jam, I totally get it. Sometimes it's a little bit expensive or daunting to hire a coach right away. If you've already signed up for certain training sites, again, I can list those in the description, but there's Run It Once, which I personally recommend. I've worked closely with them in the past, and I think their videos are great. There's also Upswing Poker. There's a bunch of different training sites out there, so it won't be hard to find one. If you already are a member of one of those, instead of hiring a coach, what I like to do is active watching of training videos. So watch one of your favorite coaches, very actively list all of the spots that come up during that training video where the coach did something that you would not have done, where they played a hand or they played a certain spot that it didn't even cross your mind to play, and just jot those down. I also like to watch high roller final table playbacks. I watch replays of online final tables where all the hole cards are face up, so you can see what all of these elite players are doing. And if you're doing something completely different, that might be a spot that you can work on in your game. So we're just data mining right now. We're trying to find all of the spots, all of the holes in our game currently so that we can fix them later on. So either hiring a coach that can directly tell you what you need to work on, I think is a really good use of your money right up front so you have a clear path forward. The second one is to watch some content with known winners, really good coaches that are in training videos or in a live stream playback, and start jotting down every single spot, whether it's pre-flop or post-flop, that you are doing differently than the professional is. And that will help you get started on your way. You will make your life a lot easier if you organize your leaks list, your mistakes list like this. You want to label things by position, by stack size, and make 2 columns, whether it happens pre-flop or post-flop. So let me give you an example. You hire a coach, they tell you at 30 big blinds, you are calling too much. Let's say the under the gun opens and you are calling too much from the hijack on 30 big blinds. So you would put one of your leaks as 30 big blinds from the hijack pre-flop. Let's say that your coach says you are folding way too many hands on the button after under the gun c-bets a flop. So now you know that on 30 big blinds on the button post-flop, you have a little bit of a leak, maybe you're overfolding. So you'd put that under the post-flop column. And you're just gonna go on and on like this. Identify the stack size, the position, and whether it happens pre-flop or post-flop. If you're a cash game player, most of your mistakes are gonna happen at 100 to 200 big blinds deep, so you don't have to break it down as much as tournament players do, but I'm going to focus on tournaments because that's what I play mostly. So I would spend a week or 2 if you play online just collecting leaks, just making a list of all of your mistakes. If you play live, it might take a little longer. Spend 3 or 4 weeks just approaching every hand that you play or every session that you play with the idea in mind that when you make a mistake or you're confused about certain spots, write down those mistakes. It's actually really empowering to approach your sessions this way, where even if you make a mistake, it's a good thing because you are adding it to the list of things that you can improve on for the year. By the way, just a side note on that, if you guys are playing and you're unsure of a certain spot, one of my favorite pieces of advice from one of the mental game of poker books is just listen to your instinct and pull the trigger on whatever your gut is telling you to do. And I know that seems basic, but if you have a gut feeling that you should probably call someone off and you end up folding, you're never actually going to know whether your gut was right or wrong. If you make the call based on instinct that told you to call and you're wrong, now you have a very clear problem to solve for yourself. But if you're always going against your instinct, you can blame your losing the pot on not listening to your instincts. You know what I'm saying? So I know that sounds very simple, but make that your goal, is to every time you are in a spot and your instinct, your gut is telling you to pull the trigger or to fold or to do XYZ, actually follow through with that in game, and then you have something very clear that you can study later if you happen to be wrong. Okay, now that we have gathered all of our mistakes, we have a whole list organized by position, by stack size, by whether it happens pre or post flop. Now we need to organize our list of mistakes in the most efficient way for our study purposes. We're going to prioritize mistakes that happen at stack sizes where you're most likely to be and positions that you're most likely to be. For example, if you have a hard time playing out of position from the big blind post flop and also playing out of position from the hijack, the way you're going to pick which spot you're going to study first is by asking yourself which one comes up more often. And the answer to this example is clearly the big blind. In tournaments especially, there's an ante in the middle. You're going to call your big blind a lot. You're going to defend from the big blind a ton. The majority of hands are going to go like somebody opens and you're in the big blind and you call. And now you're playing post flop out of position. That spot is going to come up a lot more frequently. So you're going to want to study that out of position spot post flop before you study the hijack spot out of position. And same goes with different types of stack sizes. If you have leaks at 75 big blinds, but you also have leaks between 20 and 30 big blinds and you're a tournament player, you're going to want to study the 20 to 30 big blind leak first, because you are going to spend most of your tournament life between 20 and 30 big blinds for the most part. So that spot comes up a lot more frequently. 75 big blinds only happens towards the beginning of the tournament. Even if you yourself have 75 big blinds later on in the tournament, most other people at the table are between 20 and 30. So that is going to be your sweet spot to study. And of course, you're going to want to study, for the most part, everything that happens pre-flop before you turn to your post-flop column. If you don't have that solid foundation of pre-flop down, it's going to be really hard to navigate all the post-flop situations. A lot of hand reading in post-flop scenarios comes from you knowing which hands that you have in that spot. You can also, while you're making your list, make a little note next to each item on that list, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced. This is just beginner, intermediate, advanced for you. What you consider tough and what you consider kind of easy. That's just going to help you even more going forward. Like, okay, 10 big blinds, all in shoves. Like I've studied that a million times. I know that very clearly, but maybe when you were working with your coach, there were a couple of times where you missed it by one or two hands where you're supposed to shove and you folded, or you were supposed to fold and you shoved. That's a spot that you consider beginner for yourself, but you still need to study it and brush up on it. So that'll go into the beginner column, and you want to study that first. You want to just get that out of the way, make sure you really got that sharp before you move on to more intermediate and advanced concepts. Okay, this video is getting a little long, so for part 3, where we're going to dive into what resources you need and how you study, I'm going to show you how I study just as an example, and then like I said, you can message me in the AMA thread or some of the other coaches if you prefer to talk to them about certain spots. I'm going to show you what resources you're going to use for which mistakes that you're making. But I highly encourage you to spend some time organizing for steps 1 and steps 2 so that when you get to the studying part, you're not going to be all over the place. You are going to have a clear path forward. You're going to be able to check mark that list and really feel empowered in getting better at this game. So that's all for today's video. I'll see you guys in part 2. Until then, good luck at the tables, and I'll see you guys next time.